Will Victor Timely, Kang the Conqueror, and He Who Remains be the same person? For a long time, the great unknown in Loki's universe has been, who's Kang the Conqueror? That villain destined to destroy realities and that the Avengers must face united. In recent days, a theory has surfaced that Victor Timely might actually be Kang the Conqueror. But what if we've got it wrong? What if it turns out that Victor Timely, He Who Remains, Kang the Conqueror, and many others are actually the same person?
I don't live in a straight line.
In this video, we'll be analyzing the words spoken by He Who Remains in the first season of Loki to try and reveal if he and Kang are the same entity. And if you like all the content related to Loki's fascinating universe, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. In our previous video, we talked about the possibility of Victor Timely being Kang the Conqueror, a villain who will bring the multiverse to its knees and who will be the cosmic threat that the Avengers must face in their next movie. However, it is possible that the time cycle that exists in Loki is much larger than we imagine, and that the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is linked to the very existence of He Who Remains. Perhaps when He Who Remains mentioned that he has been called Conqueror, it is because he really was Kang the Conqueror.
I've been dubbed many names by many people. A ruler, a conqueror, He Who Remains, a jerk. But it's not as simple as a name.
But then, if this character really is Kang the Conqueror, how is it that this villain will be the great threat in the next movies if Sylvie ended his life? To understand this, we must talk about time cycles. We are used to seeing stories in a linear way, with villains trying to conquer the planet and then being defeated. But time travel stories are much more complicated. Kang mentioned that he has lived a million lives where he had been called by different names, so it is possible what we will see in the Kang Dynasty movies is the future of the Avengers, but the past of He Who Remains.
I don't live in a straight line. And with time, it's hard not to skip to the end.
But then, how would the timeline really be? If this hypothesis is correct, it would be as follows. Victor Timely receives the TVA manual, the same one he uses to start creating his inventions, and imagine a life different from his own. Eventually, he is contacted by Renslayer, Miss Minutes, Loki, and Sylvie. Victor Timely begins to help them, but becomes an evil version of himself. One that, although he will create the TVA, will be a version that will conquer the multiverse and become Kang the Conqueror.
You think this is new to me? Do you know how many rebellions I have put down? How many worlds I've conquered? How many Avengers I've killed? And you think you can beat me? I am Kang!
Kang the Conqueror creates the TVA, but acts as a dictator, has giant statues with his face and wants to acquire more power, then realizes that he is a key piece in this multidimensional war, and begins to fight with other versions of himself. Kang the Conqueror loses one of these battles and is thrown into the quantum level, where he meets Wasp. This is where he talks about how he realized he must control the multiverse. Although the Kang we saw in Ant-Man and the Kang that remains were shown as different characters, we can see that they both want to stop the multiversal war at all costs. Something interesting about the version of Kang we saw in Ant-Man is that he mentions if he can't escape, everyone will die. He sees himself as the hero of the story. At the end of the movie, we saw how Kang supposedly lost his life, but we have seen that the strategies of this character are deceptive. It is possible that he managed to escape his apparent death, as it would not be the first time he deceives us. Now, Kang the Conqueror manages to escape his death in Ant-Man, and returns to the TVA to continue his work by starting to destroy realities. It is here that the Avengers team up to try and stop him. The fight against Kang the Conqueror, who in the past was Victor Timely, could go on for a long time. We will see this fight that Kang mentions in the next Avengers movie. Finally, Kang the Conqueror understands that he should not be the only person or villain who controls the entire multiverse. To save it, he has to stop being Kang the Conqueror and become He Who Remains. So, I think He Who Remains realized that the two variants of Loki could run the TVA better than himself, or that they were part of its genesis anyway. Kang the Conqueror realizes that he cannot continue to destroy realities and must become a more benevolent version of himself, He Who Remains. This means that He Who Remains may have fought the Avengers several times. Even Kang mentions in Ant-Man that he has destroyed Thor, which could be sometime in the future. If He Who Remains really was Kang, and he felt ashamed that in the past he was a villain fighting the Avengers, maybe that's why he wanted to rebrand the TVA. He removed his statues and created this false story of the gods, giving up all the glory and isolating himself, as he understood that he did wrong for a long time. This would mean that the end of the fight against Kang could be the beginning of the life of He Who Remains. It is possible that we will not see the final death of Kang the Conqueror in the Avengers movies, because we already witnessed it in the Loki series, making this an endless cycle where the end is the beginning and the beginning is the end. The biggest clue about the possibility of this theory being true is the name of OB, Ouroboros, the symbol of the snake that eats its own tail. This symbol is often used to explain time paradoxes. In this case, He Who Remains, with the help of OB, were the creators of the TVA, who later inspired Victor Timely to become Kang the Conqueror, and then He Who Remains, closing the cycle where the end is the beginning. But tell me, what are your thoughts on this theory? Could it be that all these versions of Kang are the lives he says he lived? That Kang the Conqueror will eventually reflect and become He Who Remains? And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.